The second speaker is Mr. Ali Jillani, who is the Vice Chair of the Karachi Research Chair in Pakistan. Ali Jillani is a development practitioner striving for democratization of state and society in Pakistan, with over 10 years of advocacy at the national, regional, and global levels. His expertise includes access to justice, political economic equality, human rights, education, and means of implementation.
Thank you, Chair. Building back or forward better only matters if it translates into concrete action addressing systemic issues like global inequalities of wealth, power, and resources, neoliberal frameworks devouring our democracies, militarism and conflict, patriarchal authoritarianism, marginalizing governance, as well as a guilt-free pass on means of implementation commitments. Debt distress, exacerbated by COVID-19, enforced economic downturn and deficit financing, has risen to unprecedented 49% in debt to GDP terms, affecting 40 out of 43 countries in the Asia and the Pacific region. And amid the relief rhetoric, the emergency loans continue to target poorest countries, despite global calls for permanent cancellation of sovereign debt for efficient COVID recovery. Notwithstanding the very lesson from COVID-19, to strengthen public healthcare systems, the international financing institutions continue to enforce stringent conditionalities. Almost 76 out of 91 IMF negotiated loans in 2020 pushed for further belt-tightening measures, resulting in deeper cuts to public healthcare and social protection systems, compounded by the push for privatization as an excuse for good governance. Debt service suspension initiative and the common framework beyond DSSI have proved ineffective, requiring fundamental reforms involving inclusive debt treatment frameworks, debt restructuring, and cancellation, among others. The profit-driven hegemonic trade and investment patterns have held sway over people and the planet during the pandemic. Business as usual continues with predatory trade practices, illicit financial flows, and tax evasions, despite global calls for SDG's compatibility impact assessment of taxation architecture, trade and investment agreements, as well as the enactment of global and regional tax bodies to synergize multilateral resolve against the corporatocratization of the globe. On vaccine equity, it is critical to review current trade rules to enable manufacturing of medical products in least developing countries by promoting access to raw material, technology, and financing. We also support the call for global moratorium on ISDS, continuously plundering nation states of vital resources amid recovery crises. Echoing the call from developing countries, it is imperative to look beyond TRIPS waiver and parallelly resolve issues like food insecurity, economic fragility, and corporate capture as key building blocks for a holistic recovery. Official development assistance continues to be a testament of lack of multilateral resolve, with more than half the countries failing on their ODA commitments, and the expected financing of $350 billion fell short by more than half, while developing countries face a financing shortfall of over $2.5 trillion per year in core SDG priorities. A major chunk of net ODA flows was routed through IFIs, with severe question marks on aid efficiency in terms of human rights, development, peace, and security, as well as the environment. The lack of meaningful action on common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities persists, while the Asian Pacific countries' vulnerability to climate crises increases despite meager carbon footprints. This is compounded by the use of ODA to catalyze private sector engagement, achieve trade, military, and political objectives of donor countries, and ODA's substitution with climate financing, refugee costs, debt relief, and even vaccine donations, affecting the efficiency of both effective COVID recovery and SDG priorities. The continued emphasis on digitalization as the way forward needs to be reconsidered for its implications across several domains. Increased corporate control of data and concentration of tech innovation in the hands of few technology giants could compromise privacy, hinder technology transfer, marginalize human workforce, and undermine local knowledge systems, among others. It is imperative to reinvigorate the technology facilitation mechanism to avoid tech takeover of people and their resources. The spirit of partnerships for sustainable development should not legitimize actors who have historically been part of the problem, as it is a clear threat to our multilateralism. In the absence of clear compatibility impact assessment, we must realize that involvement of such actors in the process is driven by profits and not by piety, evident of the history of tax evasions, profit shifting, asset stealth, and illicit financial flows, and therefore does not merit the messiah status on negotiation tables. And finally, in the face of clear failures, with the region failing on all SDGs by 2030, MOI need to catalyze fundamental reforms so the systemic lock-ins and runaway degradations do not set in. We cannot afford to remain half-hearted in our pursuit of the Agenda 2030, as the structures critical for action are decaying with the demise of public trust, exacerbating social and politico-economic inequalities, and continued degradation of ecological systems. It is truly a wake-up call for us to incorporate development justice only if heed to it now with bravery and conviction, so our children tomorrow do not curse us. I thank you, Chair.